Good afternoon. Thank you. It's interesting just looking at that video because I'm reminded it was done last year and there's a lot that's changed in 1 year from that point of view. I'd first of all like to compliment Stephen and the team from Infrastructure New Zealand on hosting the Building Nation Symposium. I mean, it's day 2, it's Friday afternoon, it's after lunch, and you're all still here and engaged, so I assume we are the true believers in that space. It's my privilege this afternoon to showcase what is an amazing project. It's a project that's responded to the challenges that you've been discussing in this forum over the last couple of days around managing growth in a sustainable way. You know, it's an urban development project that's been disrupting the established norms and challenging the conventions of urban development and delivering a solution that is sustainable in terms of how we manage our growth. That particular project is Greater Springfield. It's Australia's largest, fastest growing, sustainable master plan city building and community development project. There's a lot wrapped up into that title, but we'll unpack that as we go. And it's the vision of its 2 founders. This is a private company that's delivering this, and these gentlemen have stepped in and challenged government to plan long term on a 60-year horizon as a private company and do something quite extraordinary and different. When they started that journey 25 years ago, they were considered crazy. Now they're visionary, given what they've delivered. The founders of the project are Maha Sinnathamby, who's just turned 80 recently, and he still works full-time in the business. And he's a Malaysian-born Indian, an Australian citizen, and his business partner of 32 years, Bob Sharpless. Myself, I'm part of the Springfield Land Corporation team. Springfield Land Corporation is the private company that the owners have set up to deliver their vision for the project. We don't consider ourselves to be a developer. Our chairman refers to us as missionaries that are on a task with him to be city builders and community developers. You know, front in mind in our values for our business are trust, integrity and loyalty. It's never about the money because they don't have any, and they didn't have any when they started. It's been about a commitment to the vision, and as he often says, if you chase success in terms of delivering this, the money will follow. And just to give you a bit of context, what I do, I look after all the planning and infrastructure. So he simply says to me, your job is to implement my vision. And we've been going for 25 years, and I've been doing that for the last 13 years. My children refer to me as someone who plays Sim City, effectively assembling the parts and putting it all together. Annually, I manage about $650 million worth of infrastructure across all the categories you'd expect in a city. So where is this amazing project? It's located in Queensland, just outside of the capital city of Brisbane, in the local authority jurisdiction of Ipswich City. So it's close to the capital city in a regional setting. The land holding is 2,860 hectares of land. That land came to the market in 1992. It was previously owned by Australian Forest Holdings, and they were milling timber from the site, and they had approval for extractive industries in terms of coal mining. So Ipswich, as a regional council, as a rural sort of authority, was, I guess its industry was based around coal production and primary production. These gentlemen looked at the opportunity for that piece of land and said, all right, we might be able to do something a bit different here. They'd come across from Western Australia, the other side of Australia, looked at this site and said, this is interesting. All the big development companies, the public listed groups, had looked at it and gone, too difficult. It's in Ipswich, it's got, you know, stigma about it, it's in a low socio-demographic area. The only things close to it are the prison and a mental health institution. Who'd ever want to live there? There's no infrastructure. It's not worth worrying about. Our chairman went and met with the Foresters Holding Group and said to them, you've had it on the market now for 1.5 years, you've had no interest in it. I know your best offer's been $1.5 million. If you give me an option over it for 12 months, I will pay you $2.8 million for it, which is double what anyone's offered you, if I can secure an outcome in terms of how I might use that land. They said, nothing ventured, nothing gained. We've done nothing for 12 months. We'll wait another 12. Yes, you can have your option. Then they said, we want 10% as a deposit. He said, I don't have that. I'll give you $1 for the deposit to hold that land for 12 months. Surprisingly, they accepted it. And he then set about asking the question, what am I going to do with this piece of land? And from his point of view, he said, I have a capital city here, a regional city here. This is ripe for an infill project that could stimulate the development of the region, could fast-track a whole range of things and provide a solution to managing growth in southeast Queensland. He asked a number of the local consulting companies, what do you think we could do with this land? Have a look at it and come back. Tell me what you think we can do. They went away and they came back 2 weeks later and said, we have the answer, it's great. We can carve it up into rural residential subdivision lots. We can do those at sort of 8 to 10 hectares. You'll have just on about 300 lots you can produce. You can make $8 million out of that. Isn't that great? He said, no, I think you've missed the point. I want to do something a little bit better than that. I don't want to just use this and lose the opportunity. So the question was asked, what to do with this land? What if we would apply some strategic planning principles to determine how it could best be used? Develop a solution that would deliver intergenerational, environmental, economic and social benefits. Create a vision that had scale and mass that could influence the development of the region. Make sure it's more than just a dominant residential subdivision. Create a series of suburbs around a core, which is a central business district. A CBD, a city centre scale, was the priority for it. Create a plan that could provide certainty, yet respond to the changes and challenges that community would face as a project of this evolved over a time frame of 60 years, keeping in mind that 25 years ago we didn't have the internet, we didn't have any of the things we have today, and what the community's expectations around how they would live were quite different 25 years ago to what they are now, to what they will be in another 40 years' time. And if we're going to go and do all of this, we need some special legislation that's going to allow us to do that. We're going to have a special planning legislation and infrastructure agreements that give us certainty around providing or delivering on this vision. They ended up settling on the land at the end of the 12-month period. They sold off 400 lots that they had approved and a balance area of 200 hectares to a Taiwanese investor who bought into their long-term vision for the project. At the end of that 12-month period, they settled with him first in the morning and he paid them $12 million for the approval and that land. And then in the afternoon they settled on the balance of the land for the $2.8 million, walked away controlling the 2,860 hectares of land and with about $8-9 million in their pocket. Now they started this project with no money. They then paid their consultants who'd faithfully joined them on the journey for their work over the 12 months to secure the approval. They then started to discuss with the government about what the opportunities might be to develop this city. They met with a number of the state bureaucrats whose response through the planning minister was, this is out of sequence development, it's not warranted for 10, 15, 20 years. We can't afford the infrastructure, so this thing shouldn't happen. Our response to that was, we'll make it happen and we'll provide all the infrastructure. And I still remember the chairman saying I had no idea how I was going to do that, but I couldn't bear the thought of this opportunity being lost. So they gave an undertaking to the government to provide all the necessary infrastructure to support the Springfield project going forward. That meant giving land for schools, fireys, ambulance, police for free, paying contributions on a per lot basis to the capital cost of building those sorts of infrastructure that would support the community, and creating all the necessary transport infrastructure, community infrastructure, open space infrastructure that was required, water and sewer, to support the vision for the project. They spent that 6-year period from 92 through until 98 actually negotiating, putting in place the planning framework. A special act of government was actually brought into play. All 86 hands in Parliament went up to support it by bipartisan support. And the first thing to fall out of that approval was a requirement for them to build the Centenary Highway to Springfield. Not just the bit through their land, the bit through the land prior to that, which was the Defence Force, the Australian government controlled, and an adjacent piece of land that was controlled by another jurisdiction, being Brisbane. They had to deliver that. They created a 120-metre wide corridor, and they had to build the first 2 lanes and give it to government. They did that, and the project opened to development in the year 2000. Since that point in time, this is the development that has actually been spurned around the project. And if I just go back at a point in time, look at that yellow dot on that map, and then pay reference to what has now happened in the preceding time since that dot was there. The urban development has been created around that project as a result of the Springfield initiative getting underway. At our recent 25th anniversary, the Premier was there, and she said that noted that 25 years on, Springfield Land Corporation has held to its vision and is delivering Greater Springfield a city in the making and recognised as a nation-building project. We've continued to do what we said we would do, and what we've done is stimulate development of growth within that western corridor in southeast Queensland. That in turn has been reflected then in the state government's regional growth management strategy, the Southeast Queensland Regional Plan. Under that regional plan, the government has consolidated growth within the capital city, north and south of it, and is facilitating growth to the west, which is where Springfield's located. What that's resulted in is the emergence of Greater Springfield as a city in the making. What's the vision for this city? It's pretty simple. It's a sustainable city where its active and healthy community can live, work, learn and play in a digitally connected environment. It's a centre for growth in southeast Queensland. Greater Springfield is the fastest growing location within southeast Queensland and is toggled between 1 and 2 in terms of the national level of growth, being sometimes pipped by a location in Western Australia based around the resource boom, but that's been a little bit spasmodic in that respect. Fast facts to date. Over the last 25 years, there's been $12 billion invested by ourselves and our partners in the development of the project. We have approval for 2.6 million square metres of GFA. That's non-residential GFA within a 390 hectare central business district, which is more than the CBD of Brisbane currently has. We have approval for 46,000 dwellings across the total project. About 24,000 of those are in suburbia that hub around the core, which has an approval for 22,000 apartments within it. Because of the design and delivery of the superior regional road network, we have access to a population within a 10-minute drive time of approximately 150,000 and push that out to a 22-minute drive time, and it's about 500,000 people in that particular location. We have rail to Springfield, which has been a key turning point for our project, but it took a little bit of work because it's the first time in 96 years that the Queensland Government had extended the suburban rail network to a new emerging area, and it took 8 years to get that together. They did ask us if we would contribute towards the cost of that project. We said certainly. We reminded them that we had actually created a corridor that was 120 metres wide, and that a third of the capacity of that corridor was set aside for public transport. And although we'd provided that for about $40 million, that corridor in the first 2 lanes, the present day value of the rail land component alone was about $380 million, which the government ultimately accepted as our contribution towards the provision of public transport in the form of heavy rail to Springfield. To date, over the last 25 years, we've seen our population grow to just on 34,000. We're ultimately planning for 136,000, but cities are never finished, and that's a planning target for the moment. I would imagine it will wind up being more than that. We want to have 60,000 jobs within our project. 60,000 jobs within our project, and that's the focus for us because people need to live where they work, and that's a priority for us. To date, we've been successful, generating around about 20,000 jobs for that off that base of about 34,000 for our community. Our unemployment rate as a result of that is 3.3, which is lower than the state average, which is 6. We're situated, obviously, within the city of Ipswich, and its population has grown to 200,000, stimulated as a result of what Springfield's done. But it's forecast to grow to 464,000 by 2041. So it's a challenge for a regional city like Ipswich because its population is going to more than double in the next 20 years based upon what it's been able to achieve and fund in terms of managing its growth over the last 150 years. So Greater Springfield has a variety of housing choices available to its community. And this plan, in terms of the structure plan for Springfield, represents where that community is located. So the pink bits are the suburban communities that hub around the blue bit, which is the central business district. The roads are all designed to run and lead through Springfield, and there's 32% of the estate retained as open space that runs linearly through the project, delivering a range of different services and functions. There needs to be a place where people can live. We have a series of 5 suburban communities across the Greater Springfield area, where over the last 25 years, we've propagated just on 16,000 dwellings, We offer a range of housing products from entry level through to premium. Our smallest product being a 3-bedroom house on 180 square metres of land, freehold title, which is an entry level product at about $320,000. We then have a range of different products that grow across the estate to our premium product, which is our Brookwater residential community, based around a Greg Norman designed golf course, where products are offered from $700,000 through to $2.5 million in that locality. Our newest suburban community is just about to, or has launched already, and it's the Springfield Rise community. We'll build just on 6,000 residential products in that particular area over the next 5 to 8 years. We annually turn over around about between 1,000 and 1,200 house and land packages on an annual basis. There's a range of other different, obviously, accommodation types. Because of the age of our project now, we've got a lot of people ageing in place that want to stay there but don't need the house, so we've partnered up with Aveo to create a seniors living campus. 10 hectares of land, they're accommodating 2,500 seniors living facilities. That's everything from retirement through independent living through to assisted care and full care. We've started building our own apartment product in the middle of our CBD, because our residential suburban product will start to conclude over the next 5 to 8 years, so we need to create a whole new market. And everyone says, how do you build medium and high density residential in a greenfield site? You know, that can't be done. We said, well, no, it's not that it can't be done, it just hasn't been done. So we'll create a market for that. And that's what we're working towards doing by providing access to public transport, quality amenity in terms of education and health facilities. That's our first offering, Park Avenue Apartments, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments that have sold out, 68 of those in the first offering as well. But most recently, we've brought into play, I guess, our bigger vision, which is the concept around City Centre North and how we might develop a city within the city. This is our high density, transit-oriented community. It's a mixed-use precinct, accommodating around about 10,000 apartment products from 4 stories to 25 stories, and around about 700,000 square metres of ancillary mixed-use development in terms of retail, commercial with that, and a whole lot of sports stadia facilities adjacent to that as well. We've partnered up with R&F Group out of China. More and more our partners are actually international. The domestic market doesn't have the appetite to take on the long-term vision that we have for this. And R&F Group is the 4th largest developer of apartments in China. Last year they turned over just on 49,000 apartments in a year. They've partnered up with us over 20 years to build 10,000 apartments in the City Centre North project. We're currently finalising the planning approval, and in the next 2 years they'll start on 3 towers, 16, 18 and 25 storey towers adjacent to the train station. For all those apartments, they will only succeed if there's a job for each one of them. So Springfield, as I said, has a central business district, 390 hectares in size, which is where our commerce is taking place. There's a range of different jobs provided within that particular central business district, focused around education, health, technology, retail and commercial activities. We have partners that have moved in to help us propagate those particular jobs. So GE have located their state headquarters in Springfield, the 8th largest globally listed company in the world, with just over 180,000 people employed. They've amalgamated all their businesses into Springfield. They have, in this particular offering, health, avionics and resource, and they have a call centre function and money in that location. So it's just on 1,000 employees located in that project for GE. We have a hospital under construction. This is the first stage that has been built. MARTA are partnering with us to build a 1,500-bed hospital over 10 hectares of land. The first stage has been built. Why do we want to get involved in the health space? Because a 1,500-bed hospital generates 7,000 jobs. The first stage, which was 86 beds, they had 100 jobs that they advertised. They had 4,500 applications for that job from people who want to live and work locally within that opportunity. They've now grown to over 200 employees, and they're waiting on funding, but will probably go without it to build the next 100 beds towards their journey of 1,500 within the project. The Health City project is where the hospital's located, and you can see there on that the plan for it. So this is an education precinct, this is the health precinct, that's the retirement precinct. Sports field's located through there. First stage of the hospital there. There's another two buildings and cranes on there with that under construction as the seniors living. That's a school campus in there. we've actually started a professional office suite in that location, in that particular area as well. So things are moving along at a rate of knots, but it's about generating the jobs. Obviously, entertainment industry and media, big part of it as well. Local television have set up bureaus out in there because there's so much content for them to tap into, and they're utilising that to actually grow their presence in that area. We've just signed a deal with the AFL to provide a boutique stadium for 15,000 people. It'll be the home of women's AFL, and the Brisbane Lions, who are a national team, are going to locate their training administration out there. That brings Channel 7 with them, and we're now looking at a concept of Media City, where we might hub all the different media groups together into that locality. We have a regional shopping centre that has approved for about 220,000 square metres of development. To date, we've built around about 85,000 square metres of that development, and that's generating in excess of around about 900 jobs within the community. Another one of the key pillars of Springfield is access to learning. Our chairman talks about the fact that education is the currency of the future, and you can take it anywhere. And from his point of view, it was access to education that gave him a different opportunity in life, given the impoverished background he had. So across Greater Springfield, we have 14,000 students involved in some sort of lifelong learning, with access to all forms of education from early childhood through to schooling, through to university degrees. A lot of those particular uses are integrated. So if you're looking at a career in health, in Year 12, you can start to tailor your learning example with a relationship with Mater Health Services and the university around your education offering. A university key tenant at the moment in our Education City project is University of Southern Queensland, but with the advent of the hospital coming on board, we've secured other partners, and 2 other universities are looking to locate out there now to offer services in that health space. We've also, as I said, grown our school offering. We have 10 schools, but if you take junior and senior schools, it's actually 14, and we have another 3 schools under construction at the moment. We've given the land for the state schools to the government free, and we've wanted them to look at a vertical model rather than a horizontal model. So when they come and talk to me about wanting 12 hectares, I say, no, you're only getting 4, because the land's a scarce commodity, and you wouldn't put a 12-hectare facility in the middle of the Brisbane CBD, would you? So we're going to a vertical school model, and they've engaged with that, and we've started to deliver those outcomes. You can also see there the Himba Yamba Indigenous school as well. We obviously wanted to contribute towards the social conscience in terms of the Closing of the Gap initiatives, and we turned over some land and facilitated with the federal government and the state government the creation of an Indigenous school, which has been extremely successful in that community. Springfield's got to be a place where people can play. So we've aspired to provide social infrastructure, which is something, once again, tends to be left over till the end. We've put quality social infrastructure in up front because that's the bit that welds the community together. Our shopping precinct has seen, I guess, the entertainment and dining precinct blossom in the second stage of development. When that first opened, and that fountain went live, I think we had 55,000 hits in terms of people tweeting about the creation of that. And it's brought new vibrance to our town centre, city centre activities in the evening, particularly on the weekends. We've built lakes for people to recreate around, but they also contribute to our sustainability agenda in terms of water management. We've built quality open space facilities. This is the Rebel Domain project, which sits in the centre of our CBD. And normally you'd keep the land in the centre for the highest and best use. We wanted to turn that over to a parkland. I remember the conversations with our local authority about our vision for that parkland, because we would ultimately give them that land once it had been embellished, and we asked them what they wanted to do with that land. They thought a bin, a seat and a path would be good. We talked to them about the forethought of the fathers in New York that set aside places like Central Park. We took them to see a number of those sorts of things and raised the thinking and created the Rebel Domain Parklands. It has, I guess, become the key meeting place and gathering space for our community. It has a range of different functions, so it's more than a park for plants, it's a park for people, and it's become the community gathering space. We've built Ipswich's beach because we're so far, 40 minutes drive from the coast. We're perceived as being hot, so we wanted to break that perception down by providing a beach in the middle of a regional location. So that's the Orion Swimming Lagoon. When I did the feasibility study around that, I said to the council, don't just do a squirt park. You can play with the hose at home in the backyard. Get that. But here's an opportunity, something quite different and unique. And what we did with that was we demonstrated how we could give a value and uplift to the whole region. We thought maybe we might see about 120,000 visitors in the first year of that project being opened up, and we had 48,000 visitors in the first month. So it certainly performed very well. We've got golf courses in there, Australia's #1 public access golf course, designed by Greg Norman. And we're building a stadium, as I said. We have $60 million worth of open space embellishment going on at the moment across sporting fields for the community. And our sustainability agenda sees 32% of the estate retained for open space purposes, and a range of different initiatives around recycling and sustainable water management initiatives. We've always aspired to be a smart city, a digitally connected city. We got a bit frustrated with working the national carrier telco Telstra. We ultimately became a telco ourselves, ran fibre to Springfield and put that fibre into a Tier 3 state-of-the-art data centre and reticulate fibre out through our community and use that to incentivise people to locate their business there, because the cost of service is quite cheap. In some instances, we'll give it to them free. GE, when they came, they went and spoke to Telstra. They said it'd be $1 million a year and grow. We can't come, it's prohibitively expensive. We said, look, what if we give it to you 150 grand a year for 3 years, and then you can have it free? And it's a higher level of service and certainty than you'll get. I guess one of the stories and successes of Springfield has been that we've provided access to all the enabling infrastructure up front. We took on the obligation to provide it, which gave us certainty that it would be provided in time to support the development to the quality we wanted and expected. That sees us annually managing about $650 million worth of infrastructure. We've moved, if you like the numbers, about 4.5 million cubic metres of dirt across the project in that time. We've built roads, sewers, water, reservoirs, we've built lakes, we've built parklands, we've built sporting facilities, we've built the houses, we've built the businesses, we've built the lot. And what's really interesting is the way we've approached that. Because we're not a public listed company, we can't go out and issue shares and raise $500 million to do that. So the commerce of the project is just as exciting. But the secret to that is that they bought the land for around about $10 a hectare and planned long term to look at how they could provide that infrastructure to support the project at its ultimate level. And we backed ourselves to be able to provide that infrastructure more cost effectively than what government could. So with the project in the 25th year, I guess one of the key crowning glories was the delivery of rail to Springfield. It delivered our integrated transit hub. We have 2 rail stations at Springfield, Springfield and Springfield Central. And when we were working with the government around the business model for that, they thought it wouldn't be successful, probably 600,000 trips on an annual basis. We delivered 920,000 trips in the first year, and we're now starting to move into this space where we're engaging with our community about transitioning them out of their reliance on a private motor vehicle and looking at modal shift and starting to look at some of those sorts of initiatives. So, quickly, Greater Springfield, some of the success factors, and I could talk all day about this, but one owner and one vision, an uncompromising long-term commitment to that vision, private company, not a public one, so we're not driven by short-term decisions about return to shareholders. We make a dividend for our owners every year, but it's reinvested back into the project. They will never see the end game of this, given the timeframes for it, but it's about the legacy they leave behind and the intergenerational opportunities there. It is a long-term strategic play. The vision is enshrined with legislation controlled by us. So we sit within a local authority as a jurisdiction, but they can't say no to what we want to do as long as it's consistent with our plan. We have no third-party appeal rights for the community. We consult and inform them with what's happening, but they can't stop what's happening. And interestingly enough, they're not objecting to that. They've come there, they aspire to be engaged with this new community. They want things to happen, not happen. So we've got Yimbyism. Yes, in my backyard. We'll have as much as you can give us out there as a response we get from the community. That's, I guess, vision's been enshrined in legislation and controlled by us. So, sovereign certainty is the greatest risk we have. We know what we're doing. It's the same people doing it. They have for the last 25 years. We need certainty that the ground rules won't be changed on us going forward. So we have words in our planning scheme that talk about bankability and making sure that things can happen. It's a purpose-built planning framework that provides that certainty. We've got a comprehensive infrastructure agreement in place that says we've got to do everything. The government, if it's successful, will collect fees and charges that pay for things to be duplicated. We have strategic partnerships in place. We don't do it all by ourselves. We have some of the biggest partners in the property sector in Australia working with us, like Lendlease, Mirvac, Stocklands, helping us propagate the vision for the project. But it's about shared benefit for all stakeholders. And there's been just an exceptional amount of good management, which you'd expect me to say, but above all of that, some sheer good luck in what's happened. So thank you for listening. If you'd like to find out a little bit more about this really unique project, access our social media sites, and I'm sure you'll be entertained by what you see happening there. Thank you.